Your cat has been trying to tell you something for a very long time. Every slow blink, every quiet moment of sitting near you, every time they press their face into your hand, it is all communication. And the truth is, most cat owners are answering in the wrong language. What you are about to learn will completely change the way you see your cat, and once you understand it, you will never be able to look at those small daily moments the same way again. Most people believe they are showing their cat love every single day. They buy the best food, the softest beds, the most colorful toys. And yet, something still feels distant. The cat keeps to itself. It tolerates being held rather than seeking it out. It watches from across the room but never fully closes that gap. And the owner is left wondering what they are doing wrong, not realizing that the answer has nothing to do with money or effort. It has everything to do with language. Cats do not experience love the way humans do. They do not respond to grand gestures. They respond to consistency, to subtle signals, to specific behaviors that speak directly to their instincts. And the beautiful thing is that none of these behaviors are difficult. Each one takes less than a minute. But together, practiced every single day, they build something that cannot be bought or rushed. They build trust. Real, deep, chosen trust. The kind where your cat does not stay near you because they have to, but because out of every place in the world, they want to be exactly where you are. So let us start from the beginning with the one thing most owners feel embarrassed about, even though science says they should be doing it far more. There is a specific voice you use when you talk to your cat. You probably know exactly what it sounds like. It is softer than your normal voice, a little higher in pitch, slightly slower in rhythm. It is the kind of voice you would never use in a meeting or out at dinner with friends. And yet, the moment you walk through the door and your cat is there waiting, out it comes. Most people feel a little silly about it. But researchers at the University of Paris published findings in 2022 confirming something remarkable. Cats can distinguish their owner's voice from the voice of a complete stranger, but only when the owner uses that soft, high-pitched tone. When owners spoke to their cats in their regular adult voice, the cats showed very little reaction. But the moment that warm, exaggerated tone came out, something switched on. The cats turned their heads. They perked up. Some moved closer. That voice, the one you thought was just a habit, is actually the clearest signal your cat has that you are you. It is recognition. It is safety. It says, in a frequency your cat is hardwired to respond to, that the person speaking is not a threat but someone who cares. So make it deliberate. Every morning when you pass your cat on the way to the kitchen, say something to them. It does not matter what. Comment on their ears. Tell them about your day. Say their name in 3 different tones. The words carry no weight. The tone carries everything. That warm, unhurried sound is the closest thing to a hug that a cat's nervous system can understand. And if that feels surprising, hold that thought, because there is a spot on your cat's body that goes even deeper than voice. We will get there. Now consider this. You have probably caught your cat staring at you from across the room, and just before you looked away, their eyes closed slowly, almost like they were drifting off. Most people assume their cat is simply tired. But that slow, deliberate blink is one of the most intentional and meaningful gestures in the entire vocabulary of cat behavior. It is not accidental. It is directed at you specifically. Researchers at the University of Sussex conducted a study in 2020 exploring exactly this. They found that when owners slow blinked at their cats, the cats were significantly more likely to slow blink in return and to physically approach the person afterward. Even strangers who used the slow blink saw a positive response. But the effect was most powerful between a cat and its owner. That 3-second gesture, eyes meeting, lids drooping slowly, a brief soft close, registered in the cat's mind as something deeply reassuring. No food was offered. No toy was waved. Just a look, and it changed how the cat felt about being in that room. Here is what makes this so important on a daily level. Most of us stare at our cats without thinking about what that stare communicates in their world. In cat language, sustained direct eye contact with no softening of the gaze reads as a challenge. It is the posture of confrontation. So every time you look at your cat and hold that gaze without blinking slowly, you may be accidentally broadcasting a message that is the complete opposite of what you feel. Building the slow blink into your daily routine costs nothing. Every morning, every evening, whenever your eyes meet across the room, let your lids fall gently and hold for just a moment. When your cat blinks back, and they will, that is your cat telling you in the only way they know how that you are someone they feel completely safe with. Moving on to something that catches most owners off guard. You have probably tried to play with your cat and had the humbling experience of watching them stare at your toy with absolute indifference. You wave it left, then right. You shake it up and down. Your cat watches with the expression of someone sitting through a presentation they did not ask to attend. And you walk away wondering if something is wrong with your cat. Nothing is wrong with your cat. Something is missing from the play. Cats are, at their deepest level, predators. Their entire neurological system is built around a specific sequence of behaviors. Spotting prey, stalking it, crouching, waiting, pouncing, catching. That sequence is not just fun for a cat. It is a biological need. When you wave a toy back and forth in the same predictable arc, you are skipping every single part of that sequence that makes it feel meaningful. The toy does not behave like anything alive. It just moves, and a cat's brain knows the difference immediately. The shift is simple but transformative. Move the toy away from your cat, not toward them. Let it disappear behind a cushion for a moment. Make it freeze, then dart unpredictably. Let it creep slowly across the floor like something cautious and then bolt. Watch your cat's pupils widen. Watch their belly lower to the ground. Watch their rear end begin that slow, subtle wiggle before the pounce. That is not just your cat playing. That is your cat being fully alive in the way their instincts demand. And here is the part that changes everything about your relationship. A cat who gets to complete that full hunting sequence every single day, with you as the one providing it, begins to associate you with something primal and deeply satisfying. You become the source of their most fundamental fulfillment. That kind of bond does not come from a treat. It comes from being the person who finally speaks to what lives deepest inside them. 5 to 10 minutes a day is enough. But those minutes need to feel real. Move the toy like it is worth catching, and your cat will look at you differently. Not just as the person who fills their bowl, but as someone genuinely connected to their world. Now here is the one that surprises people the most, because it asks you to do almost nothing at all. What if the most powerful thing you could offer your cat on any given day was simply your presence, with no agenda attached? Most owners associate bonding with activity. Petting, playing, feeding. So when they sit on the couch reading while their cat is curled up at the other end of the room, it feels like nothing meaningful is happening. But from your cat's perspective, something profound is unfolding. In the wild, cats only rest in close proximity to other cats they trust without reservation. They do not snuggle to show affection the way dogs do. They share space. That quiet, undemanding coexistence is one of the deepest expressions of safety in a cat's social world. When you sit near your cat without reaching for them, without calling their name, without nudging them toward interaction, you are communicating something that no treat or toy can replicate. You are saying that you do not need anything from them. You are simply there. If you practice this consistently, you will begin to notice a slow and deeply satisfying pattern. At first, your cat stays at a comfortable distance. Then, over days and weeks, that distance begins to close on its own. They move to the same room, then the same piece of furniture, then right beside you of their own choosing at their own pace. And that last part matters more than anything. In the world of cats, being chosen freely, with no pressure, no coaxing, no performance on your part, is the highest expression of trust they are capable of giving. So tomorrow, sit down with a book or your phone. Let your cat exist near you without asking anything of them. What happens next tends to move people far more than they expect. Here is something that seems small but changes everything about how your cat experiences your touch. When you walk into a room and your cat is there, what do? Most people reach down and begin petting almost immediately. And while that feels like affection, your cat is registering something slightly different. Cats do not orient to the world through sight the way humans do. Their primary sense is smell. Every single interaction a cat has with another living being begins with their nose. When two cats who are bonded greet one another, they do not simply walk up and begin grooming. They touch noses first. That brief exchange of scent is a greeting, a confirmation, a mutual signal that says you are known, you are safe, you are welcome. When you skip that step and go straight for the head scratch, you are bypassing the beginning of the entire conversation. It is not painful for your cat, but it is startling in a way that accumulates over time. Slowly, without either of you quite noticing, your cat begins to brace slightly when your hand comes toward them. The adjustment is almost embarrassingly easy. Every time you want to pet your cat, extend one finger first. Hold it just a few inches from their nose and be still. Let them come to it. Let them sniff, press against it, rub their cheek along it. When they do that, when they make that small, deliberate choice to engage, that is your signal. That is your cat saying they are ready. The entire exchange takes 2 seconds. But those 2 seconds reframe the whole experience of being touched. You become someone who asks first. And cats have long memories for the people who ask first. Now for something that almost every cat owner has done and almost no one realizes is quietly eroding their cat's sense of security. Your cat is asleep, curled into that impossibly perfect shape, utterly still except for the slow rise and fall of their side. And something in you, something completely understandable and human, says you need to hold them right now. So you do. Cats sleep between 12 and 16 hours a day, and this is not laziness. Sleep is how their nervous system recovers, how stress is processed, how the body regulates itself at the deepest level. Deep sleep in particular is when a cat is at their most vulnerable. Every muscle is relaxed. Their guard is entirely down. They chose that spot in that position because they felt safe enough to disappear completely for a while. When you interrupt that without warning, lifting them suddenly into the air, you are entering their most defenseless moment without invitation. Their heart rate spikes. Their claws extend. Even if they settle into your arms moments later, something has been recorded. Over time, if this happens repeatedly, you will notice your cat beginning to seek out less accessible places to sleep. Higher shelves, tighter corners, spaces that are harder for hands to reach. People often read this as their cat being antisocial or distant. In reality, the cat is simply trying to protect the one thing they need most. When your cat is sleeping, walk past them. That is the whole habit. That single act of restraint communicates more than most owners realize. It says that their rest is safe near you. And a cat who can sleep deeply in your presence is a cat who trusts you at the most fundamental level possible. And now we arrive at the one that brings everything full circle, back to the promise made at the beginning of everything here. When cats who are bonded with one another groom each other, a behavior researchers call allogrooming, they do not groom randomly. They focus almost entirely on one specific area, the base of the skull, between and just behind the ears. The reason is simple and deeply touching. That is the one place a cat absolutely cannot reach on their own. No matter how flexible, no matter how dedicated their self-grooming, that spot remains inaccessible without help. So the only cat who ever gets to groom there is one who is trusted completely. Trusted enough to be that close. Trusted enough to touch the place that cannot be defended. That is why this spot is categorically different from any other place you touch your cat. The belly is vulnerable territory, approached with caution. The chin feels pleasant but is relatively neutral. But the area between and behind the ears, down the back of the head, is reserved. It belongs to family. Research has found that when cats groom each other in this area, oxytocin is released in both animals. Not just the one being groomed, both. A shared neurochemical signal that communicates belonging. That says, in the oldest language biology knows, we are connected to each other. Here is what most owners never realize. You can trigger that same response. Every single day, take a few moments and gently stroke that area with the tips of your fingers. Not scratching, not rubbing firmly, but soft, slow, rhythmic strokes. The same unhurried pace another cat's tongue would use. Watch your cat's eyes close slowly. Watch the tension leave their body all at once, like something releasing that they did not know they were holding. The purr that follows is different from the purr during ordinary petting. It is lower, steadier, more continuous. That is not simply a cat enjoying a scratch. That is a cat's brain releasing the same chemistry It releases in the presence of its most trusted companions. You are not just petting your cat in that moment. You are telling them, in the language written into their very biology, that they belong with you. And perhaps that is the most surprising and quietly profound thing about all of this. Your cat already wants to trust you. They are already watching you, already reading you, already looking for the signals that tell them it is safe to close that remaining distance. They are not withholding love. They are waiting to give it in the only language they have ever known. Every slow blink, every shared silence, every moment you walk past them sleeping without disturbing them, every gentle stroke behind the ears. Each one of these things speaks directly to a part of your cat that existed long before you ever met. And when you speak that language consistently, something shifts. Not all at once, but steadily, quietly, the way all real trust builds. One small moment at a time.